Hello YouTube and welcome to the GonzoEwok channel. My name is Ewok and my name is Gonzo. And as you could probably tell by that woeful impression, I'm afraid Gonzo isn't with us today. He's been snowed under at work, I've been snowed under at work, and we just haven't had a chance to get together and do some recording, so we didn't really want you to go another week without sticking an FTL episode up, so we've decided that I'm going to go and do it solo. And I feel very self-conscious without Gonzo being here because I've got no one to bounce off and I'm just sitting in a room on my own talking to myself. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I guess we'll see. However, since he can't be here in person, I do want him to be here in spirit. So I am going to play a game of FTL using the Kestrel, and I'm going to name it the Gonzo. And if you've been watching the previous videos, you'll know that we haven't had much success, so I'm going to do a really sucky thing here. And I'm going to turn the difficulty down to easy. Ooh, boo, hiss. Oh, I really do feel out on a limb here on my own. So I'm just going to start this game and see where we get to and see if my commentary is worth keeping by itself. Maybe you will go another week without a video, I'm not sure. Once again, we find ourselves at the starting screen. The data you carry is vital to the remaining Federation fleet. You need supplies before the journey, so make sure to explore each sector before moving on to the next. But get to the exit before the pursuing rebel fleet can catch up. And score, score, score. Should get a bit more scrap this time since I'm on easy mode, so I might be able to upgrade the ship a little more. I don't have any specific goal in this run through other than to find my way a little bit further than last time where I got killed on the first encounter. Hopefully I'll find some random encounters on the way and maybe unlock a few more ships or another ship if I'm being optimistic. I'd really like to get some more ships to play with other than relying on the Kestrel, which is the only one I'm any good at. And just quickly check over what I've got going, get the weapons loaded up, and it's all good. So we've got a distress signal over here. I'm going to take the safe route. I don't particularly want to get into too many scraps at the beginning. However, I jump into the system and a pilot advances on my position. They are refusing all hail to prepare for a fight. They seem to have only one weapon here, which is a laser weapon. No, they've got something else there, which I don't know what it is. While I'm waiting for the weapons to charge up, I'll save the current crew positions as well. And there we go, knock their weapons out. Should be a fairly simple fight from here on in, I would hope. I'll just keep the burst laser going on their position. Make sure they don't get the weapons back up. Start thinking about where I'm going to spend this glorious scrap that I've got going. Probably going to start off by trying to boost the shields a bit if possible. Make these early sectors a little bit more manageable. My god, it really is weird talking to myself. It reminds me of the days when we first started recording, when we did our first couple of episodes of Project Zomboid and the first Geordie space programs, where both me and Gonzo were incredibly uncomfortable talking to the microphone, and it's doubly so now that I'm on my own. 50 scrap to spend. I'll boost the shields up. I'll come back and get the power later. Does mean if I get into a really sticky situation, I could drop the engines and drop the med bay down, and then put that extra bump into the shield to give myself a bit of an advantage if I've got laser using enemy or something along those lines. Come across a pirate in hot pursuit of an unidentified ship. Quickly receive a transmission from the pirate. Stay out of this fight and we'll make it worth your while. Accept their bribe for 13 scrap and some miscellaneous, or try and be a hero. I think I'm going to try and be a hero because then there's a chance I'll get whatever loot the pirate has to offer, and then there'll be another chance if I get something from the ship that's being chased as well. I am conscious that he seems to have a missile there which could do some damage, but hopefully I can deal with him before he gets a chance to knock my weapons out. I'm going to start off by firing the Artemis missile directly there at the weapons to see if I can take his weapons down. She's done exactly the same to me, but fortunately I still have some weapons whereas he has none. Use the Artemis again before he can fire another missile. Previous offer was not generous enough, let's improve it. There's a more generous offer which gives me 4 missiles and 5 fuel as well as 10 scrap, or I can continue the assault. I'm actually going to take that because the fuel is worth quite a bit of scrap that he's offered me, as are the missiles. I think I'm probably going to use the missiles a bit more this run than I have in previous runs. Previous runs haven't gone great, so perhaps it's trying to mix the tactics up. Obviously, no contact there from whichever ship he was attacking. No point going to that store because I don't have the scrap to spend, so I'll bypass that. He's got a small rebel ship nearby. It seems to have been refitted for transport rather than combat and doesn't want to seem to engage you and your ship. I imagine if I demand the surrender of their goods, they're going to try and run away, and if they get away, that'll speed up the rebels chasing me. But it's early days, I'm going to need some scrap and stuff, so I'm going to demand the surrender of their goods, try and take them by force. And as I suspected, they're trying to get away. They don't really have a lot they can fight me with, so I'm going to take the missiles and the laser, try and knock their engines out. I mean, I'm feeling fairly safe here. I don't think they can really scratch me. Yeah, they got enough to take the shields down, but not actually penetrate the shields. So I'll just keep the lasers hitting at their engines there. And if their engines come back online, I'll fire a missile at it to make sure it stays knocked out. And another easy victory for the Gonzo. Okay, before they get away, I'd best fire the missile there. 11 scrap. Ooh, it's pretty poor. Search the remains of the ship, only come across blueprints and debris from the broken machinery. A shame, but you take what scrap you can salvage. Better than nothing, I suppose. I used 2 missiles, it's probably better than the 2 missiles I used. Get an extra power bar up there. That way I can boost the shields up. As long as I keep the med bay online. Offline rather. And then nip down here to spread the coverage out. Rebel ship hails. We did not fight a war to let the single Federation ship shatter our dreams of a better galaxy. He locks weapons. I often wonder when I'm playing FTL and you listen to some of the things that the Rebel says, if like the Federation are the bad guys. I mean, they're after a dream of a better galaxy and we're the old regime holding out against them. Perhaps we are the bad guys. So they've got the beam weapon there, and this little assault drone here. Not really too worried about what they can do. I'm not even sure they're going to get through the enhanced shields. It was pretty good to get the shields up this early. Helped in no small part by the fact I'm playing it on easy mode. Oop, here we go. These guys are trying to escape as well. So let's take their engines down. Please don't kill us. We'll give you everything we have. Accept their offer, which is 12 scrap, 4 missiles and a drone, or we will not accept surrender. Given that they're nearly destroyed, and that the FTL is currently delayed with me taking the engines out there, I think I'm going to take them down and see if I can get a better deal from destroying them. Let's see what we get. We've got an anti-combat drone, 17 scrap, 1 drone part, 2 fuel. Not bad haul that, even if I don't use the anti-combat drone. Although I probably will if I can get it installed somewhere down the line. But if needs be, I could sell that in a shop. So that stuns combat drones attacking the ship. Actually, I probably won't end up using that, but it's probably worth something if I get to a shop and sell it. Again, I'm going to avoid the distress signal because I want to stay away from anything that could be too intense. Scans reveal a large asteroid field nearby. Short-range scanners may reveal useful materials. While we wait for the FTL to recharge, I'll explore the belt. Nothing of interest, but at least I didn't get damaged, so no score draw there. You detect an automated rebel scout attacking a small refueling outpost. You can avoid the conflict or intervene to defend the outpost. Looking at that, it only seems to have 1 weapon there. Not sure what it is. It seems to be quite well hidden. Nevertheless, I will intervene. Detecting the higher threat, the automated ship moves in to engage your ship. Ooh. They've taken the oxygen out. That's not great. In that case, I'm going to use a missile to try and take down their hacking drone, because I could do without suffocating to death. To be honest, that would be an advantage. I'm not too worried about their actual weaponry at the moment. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. Ship breaks apart, quickly salvage what you can, which is a missile, drone part 13 scrap. Oh, the outpost hails me as well, an extra missile, drone part and 18 scrap. That is a good haul. I'm up to 56. So, First things first, I'm going to buy a bit more power because that's always going to come in useful. I'm going to send Wei Sheng here, get himself healed up. Well, look at the ship upgrade menu and consider what my next choice is going to be. Now, I'm probably going to need some extra weapons somewhere along the line, so I could hold out an advanced med bay. It could be helpful. It gives a small healing boost, but it is quite handy in some of the random events. I might go with that, because we haven't really exploited the events as much as we could have done in previous run-throughs. But in the meantime, I think I'll hold on to the scrap for now, until I've got a definitive idea of what I want to do with it, because there is always the possibility that I'll come across a shop, there'll be a kick-ass weapon there, maybe a new crew member, something like that. This jump leads to nothing but empty space. Jump beacon serves no purpose other than as a connection. Now I'm thinking a 3-point jump down to here, then across, and then up, and that'll probably be around about the time I've got left in this sector before the rebels catch up. Arrive at a system, immediately discover a pirate ship nearby. Strangely, scans indicate there are no life forms on board. Salvage anything useful, but find no clue as to the whereabouts of the former crew. Don't really care where the former crew are, because I've got 18 scrap out of that, plus a missile and some more fuel. Fuel situation's looking pretty damn sexy. Skip across. Small platform orbits near the beacon. It looks like a fueling station of some sort. Cheerily broadcasting reasonable prices in a spectrum of frequencies and language. I can dock or ignore it. I find it a bit suspicious that it's just not offering me the chance to buy fuel as part of the random event. So I'm thinking that docking with it might have some other consequences. I've got pretty good fuel, I've got 18 pieces of fuel, so I'm going to dock with it anyway just to see what happens. The platform makes an offer, 5 fuel for 7 scrap. Actually, that is a really good deal. So even though I don't really need it, because it's such a good deal, I'm going to take it. And then I'm going to head over the exit and move to the next sector. I've arrived at the long-range beacon. When the FTL drive is charged, I can jump to the next sector. Black Market Hub. These are dangerous times. If you have extra military-grade explosives, we'll gladly pay you for them. I'm relying quite heavily on the Artemis, so I'm going to ignore the station because I'm quite reluctant to give it up. Hey, my god, I feel like I'm really rushing through this. Without Gonzo to bounce off, there's a bit less chat and a bit more gameplay going on. So even though I'm only going to do 2 sectors, I think it might be finished a little earlier than normal. Now, I absolutely sodden hate nebulas. Nebulas are a real pain in the arse. And unfortunately, I've got a choice of going to a nebula or going to a nebula. And I think I'll probably go down to this one. Either way, whichever way I go, in another 2 sectors time, I'll be hitting another nebula, which is a real pain. But I'll follow the bottom track here, because that's at least going to give me a choice between a hostile and civilian sector on the next run through, so I can weigh where I'm sitting and decide where to go based on that. Then at a nebula-rich sector, you may put a few light years on the fleet, but that's only useful if you can make it out the other side. Now, in nebulas, you get all sorts of horrible things happening. They can knock your systems out, knock your sensors out. Sometimes they can knock your power down to half power, so you're trying to desperately manage the energy levels, splitting them between the shield and any offensive capabilities you might have. But on the plus side, the rebel fleet chases you a little slower, so you can hit more jump points on your way to the other side. We've got a store there, so before I hit the store, I'm going to dive down to this sector and then jump up to the store, so potentially have a little bit more scrap by the time I get there. Navigating the fog blind, you practically bump holes with a mantis ship. They hail you, "Pah, this transgression will be overlooked. Nebula very dangerous. Next time, humans all die." So I can say there won't be next time and open fire. This place is dangerous enough, move along. Now, it would be a bit of a shitty thing for me to do, to open fire on a mantis ship, just because, well, just because really, they haven't really done anything to deserve it. However, I think I established pretty early on in the video that we are the bad guys in this, and as the bad guys, I'm seeing quite a nice juicy target there. I'm going to have a go at them. More importantly, they don't seem to have a teleporter. I hate mantis ships with teleporters, so let's take these guys out. And they seem to have a decent setup there, so I'm going to start with firing the missile at the weapon systems again, see if I can take that down early. If I manage to get that down, yeah, managed to get that down. So then I'm just going to focus with the burst laser from now on. Hopefully shouldn't need anything else. I'm not sure what that is they've got going on there. This weapon over here. But I'm not really that keen to find out, so I'm going to try and keep the weapons down anyway. Nice easy victory. Hope it doesn't have any negative consequences in terms of a random event somewhere down the line where the Mantis get pissed off with a massive warship for me destroying their scout for no reason. But in the short term, 25 scrap looks pretty damn sexy to me. And I'm heading into a shop with 72 scrap. That's pretty cool. NG cargo vessel hails propose mutually beneficial exchange of properties. That smells like a bargain. It certainly does. Let's see what they've got on offer. So we've got 2 pages worth of stuff. We've got some weapons. A fire beam does no physical damage but ignites fires. That could be pretty devastating if used correctly. Stun beam, self-teleporting explosive, does 1 ion damage and stuns all crew inside the room. Can target on ship. Could be useful against invaders, although could also be bad if they're in a particularly sensitive room. Could be useful for taking enemy weapons down, but that's 17 seconds charge time. A little too rich for my blood. Ion stunner. Stuns the crew inside the room for 5 seconds and disables systems without causing hull damage. Not really that keen on any of them weapons. Firstly, I'll spend a measly 2 scrap repairing the hull. Let's have a look at this. So I've got a reverse ion. Protects ship from ion damage, giving a 50% chance to negate it entirely. Backup DNA bank, that's only good if you've got clone facilities. I'm using a med bay instead. Long range scanners. Now this is interesting. Adds additional info about nearby beacons on the star map. A friend of mine told me that one of his favourite tactics is to pick the long range scanners and then specifically attempt to avoid combat by going to sectors that don't have enemy ships present. And apparently that's a good way of milking scrap by going through random encounters, turning into a bit more of a sort of choose your own adventure sounding sort of game almost. Probably not ideal for me because I don't have a wide variety of crew members and a wide variety of systems, which means I wouldn't get the special advantages that you can. But nevertheless, I'm going to pick it up and give it a try. So I'm going to buy the long range scanners and we'll see how they work out. It leaves me with 40 left. I get a backup battery, provides a 30-second power boost, increasing the amount of power. So level 1 provides 2 bonus power. 35 to get 2 extra power. It's cheaper than buying the power on its own. I've never really used the backup battery before. It sounds like it's just going to give me 2 extra power bars, and that can always come in useful. So I'm going to pick that up. Why the hell not? I don't seem to have any extra power, so maybe that's not what it does. But I'm sure we'll work it out as we go along. Let's read that description again. It's not there. It's not there as an upgrade installed. Interesting. Well, I suppose I better jump to the next sector before you all turn off board. So we've got possible ship detected. Another possible ship detected. Over here we don't seem to have anything. However, if I go back that way, I've got nowhere left to go. So I mean, I'm going to have to go forward anyway. You know what, I might go back that way and then double back anyway. I'm not going to be able to hit everything in time, so what the hell, let's go and check it out, see what's there. See a number of derelict ships near the beacon. After a short time you hear the telltale sounds of a teleporter and shouts coming from in the ship. You've been boarded. What an absolute pain in the arse, because I'll get absolutely nothing for this. At least they've teleported into the med bay, so I'll run there. We'll take them on in the med bay. Let's get a bit of power there so I can get my crew. Let's see how they handle that. Did make me realise that I've accidentally had my weapons guy sitting in the med bay this whole time and not controlling the weapons, which is a bit of an oversight, but it doesn't seem to have caused me too much harm. Unfortunate thing about these intruder things is you tend not to get any scrap from them, so seems like a bit of a wasted jump. All it's going to do is cost me some fuel. Never mind. Return the crew to the previous positions. And let's jump to the next sector. So yeah, no way I'm going to be able to jump back there and get past the rebels, so let's quickly nip forward again. Buy an extra bit of fuel while I'm here. Offset that jump a little bit. So that sector's experiencing an ion storm. I wouldn't have been able to see that if I hadn't bought the long range sensors, so thank God for long range sensors. I think I'll avoid that and just go to this standard ship detected. Appears an automated rebel scout was positioned within the nebula to warn of your passing. That makes it sound like it's going to try and do a runner. Ship starts to power its FTL drive. If it gets away, it will no doubt warn the fleet of your position. By the looks of it, I'm going up against an attack drone here, and it's got a beam weapon. Shouldn't be able to penetrate my shields. So, I can focus purely on... Oh, hang on, no. They've got a hacking... No, it's a drone bay. That's a drone bay. My bad. So yeah, I can focus entirely on keeping their weapons offline. I'm going to hit them with a missile to get them offline quickly, and then keep the burst laser on them to sort of keep that damage coming in, constantly preventing the scout from repairing there. Oh, should be another nice easy coaster. I should play on easy mode more often. Either that or I'm just having some hellish good luck. One of the two. Yeah, nice easy battle. Happy with that. 16 scrap, 3 fuel. Good stuff. Let's see where we're going next. So I have another possible ship detected. Oh hang on, it does say the rebel fleet was prepared for the nebula in this sector, so it won't be as effective as a hiding spot, so they're not going to be as slow to catch up as normal. Which way to go though? That is a big question. I suppose I'll hit this top one here. I'll avoid this ship. See if I can get a decent random encounter. Nothing! Cycle through wideband comm channels as soon as you arrive. Nothing but static. We've got possible ship detection there, but I'm going to jump to this quiet looking sector. A pirate ship arrives shortly after you. Judging from the fact that it's attempting to avoid your ship, you would assume it's just a smuggler trying to stay away from beacons. If it's a smuggler, that implies that he has some good stuff on board, so I'm going to charge the weapons and open fire. It's a slug ship. It's got some meaty weapons. I will power up my weapons, move in to engage. So again, I'm going to start by hitting it with the Artemis. Take those weapons down. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to use the Artemis. I don't think it's going to be too much of a threat. Ion weapon plus a single laser. I'm not going to do too much. Reckon I'm fairly safe. Just soak up pretty much everything it throws. So while we're patiently waiting for my ship to destroy their ship, which would help if I actually continued firing rather than just stopping, I'm going to have a quick look at how my guys are doing. So Sophia on the bridge, his skill has gone up a bit. O'Regan, his engine skill's gone up a bit. Wai Shung, looks like he's the close combat expert on the ship. A little bit of repairing skill as well, so he's got 10% faster charge, extra 5 evasion from the pilot as well. I want to try and keep them alive, unlike in some of the previous run-throughs. Oh, I've just been sitting here forgetting to put auto fire on. I'm glad the ship's not a threat, otherwise I would have been in serious trouble by now. I have to say I'm still a little bit confused as to what that backup battery I bought does. It doesn't seem to have given me any extra power. We realise our ship is no match for yours. If you let us go, we can make it worth your while. And worth my while in their eyes is 18 scrap. I will ignore their pleas and finish them off because I am the ruthless bad guy. Try and work out what the hell is going on with this backup battery. Oh, there it is there. Activate to temporarily increase reactor power and provide 2 bonus power. And that could come in useful down the line if I want a temporary boost to weapons, or if I'm caught in some sort of nebula that drains my power. Ship's cargo was not salvageable, but they've been surveying the region, possess detailed maps and data, download what we can of the ship's map, plus we get 28 scrap, which is 10 more than they were offering, and scrap's what I'm in it for right now. I don't really have a lot of time to mess around here. So I'm going to have to go and see what's here. Looks like an enemy ship. Tangled wrecks of many ships awaiting dormancy here. You see the lights flicker on what looks like debris. A rebel scout bursts out of the wreckage. He's got a hacking tool, as well as what looks to be like a beam weapon and whatever the hell that... Oh god, not again. So again we are without oxygen. I'll use the Artemis to take the weapons down. I'll use the burst laser. There we go. Use the burst laser to take down that hacking drone. And I'm gonna keep hammering at the weapons there, make sure they don't come back online. See, it's all powering through the missiles here. I really should have picked some up at that last store that I hit. I never really thought it was going to be this desperate need. 28 scrap, that's pretty good. Missile to fuel, 78 scrap. Now what can I do here? I'm tempted to boost the engines up a little bit. Give me an extra bit of evasion. Aim up by 2, get that up by 1. So I mean I can't keep them fully powered, but if I ever get the position where I want to drop the Artemis and just use the burst lasers, I can add the extra in there, and I've also got temporary boost in case I get into the shit. I reckon I've got time to do a loop around as well before I have to go to the next sector to really maximise those encounters. I say encounters, with the sensors down you spend a good deal of time staring out the window. It is, you must admit, rather beautiful out here. I don't know, it looks pretty similar to the last place I was, to tell you the truth. Final one. As you wait for the FTL drive to charge, you half expect to be ambushed at any moment, however no attack comes. So all that served to do was waste an extra 2 bits of fuel before I got to the exit. Well, I don't think I've done much recording, so rather than quit it after 2, I think I'm going to go and do another sector for you guys. That's if you're not bored of me talking to myself at the moment. Long range beacons are almost hidden within the sector. When the FTL charge is done, you can jump to the next sector, so absolutely nothing here. So we've got a rock controlled sector or an NG controlled sector. I'm going to go with the NG controlled sector. I think at this stage in the game I could probably quite easily handle going through a hostile sector, but if I go through the NG sector there's a chance I might hit the shops and get some new tech, and I'm quite keen on the idea of playing with some new tech, so that's going to be my option. Arrived in NG space, the fall of the Federation has brought tough times for these robotic life forms, but they're usually willing to help. And let's hope they do. I've got no choice here other than to hit that distress beacon. You arrive at a smouldering NG research station. Its distress call unanswered. Attacked by pirates or mantis most likely. There may be someone left alive, or something else of value left on board. I can board it, ignore it, or long range scanners, run another scan. Let's give it another go. Scans reveal the station's reactor is overloading. Not only that, but an injured NG and a functioning drone schematic are still on board. There's not time for both. I can save the NG or I can save the drone schematic. Now the bastard in me wants to go for the drone schematic just for RP purposes, but I think the NG crew member is probably going to be a bit better. Again, if I'm hitting those random encounters, having an NG crew member on board might prove useful, whereas the drone schematic probably won't, and given that I don't even have a drone control bay. So the team heads straight for the NG, returns home with time to spare. Put some distance on the station before it blows, and the NG is impressed by your crew, volunteers to join you. Got 18 scrap as well, which is good. Plus, this guy is a fairly competent weapons guy. So I'm going to take a Y share off weapons, put him onto shields. Get the NG on the weapons room. Save the layout. And jump to the next sector. So it's another unvisited location. Doesn't seem to be anything of interest there on the long range scanners, but we'll see. As soon as you arrive, a small mantis ship detaches from a wreck and jumps away. You must have interrupted their salvage operation because you find a weapon ready to be installed. It's a halberd beam as well. It does 2 per hit, and it'll go through 1 layer of shields as well, which makes it a pretty sexy weapon all around. It's going to need 3 to power it, so that'll take up all my current power that's attributed to weapons. And it takes a fair while to charge as well. It is a pretty effective weapon though. It's not quite up there with the glaive, but it is nice. So I'm going to stick an extra power bar in there. Extra power bar is absolutely useless to me actually. I need to focus on putting extra scrap into the weapons system. It's going to be quite expensive, but it's a price that I am more than willing to match if I can get the scrap to make it. Possible ship detected there. Got to be a wuss and ignore them. Move on to this empty looking sector. A number of merchant ships passing through the area, but despite the threat of mantis invasion, no doubt interested in buying the technology of the Engi. Continue. Nothing of interest, which is a shame. Let's move to this sector. Scans reveal a large asteroid field nearby. Short range scanners. We've done this one before. I'm going to explore it again. Nothing of interest. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Very quiet sector, this. See a small rebel carrier in the distance, lay low and try to blend in with the other traffic. However, it's surprised to see a rebel military ship deep alone in Engi space. Again, absolutely nothing for me there. A little bit of a bust, this sector. Arrive at a populated sector. One mercenary seems to be mass broadcasting a request for a mercenary ship to aid him. Shall we respond? Let's see what the fella wants. Your ship seems reasonably well equipped. Afraid of carrying a shipment of my goods is a week late. The fools flew a pilot-filled sector? Really tripping over my words here. Case in point. The fools flew through a pirate-filled sector in their haste. I fear for the cargo's safety. I'm looking for a less incompetent captain to investigate. Now, I'm not sure whether I would class myself as less incompetent, but what the hell, let's accept the mission. At least you're confident, for what little that is worth. Here is their last known location, quest marker added to the map. There is the quest marker, so I'm going to have to zip down here. I can bypass the shop because I ain't got anything to spend, and what I do have to spend I want to put into the halberd beam. What first seems to be a simple nebula is actually filled with a good amount of debris from a brutal exchange between several ships. Wreckage drifts by your screens and tumbles into the depths of the nebula to be lost to sight. It's hard to determine who the combatants were without closer investigation. Let's investigate, and I'm on 10 to 1 odds that a drone activates and attacks me. As you approach the records, a slug ship makes its arrival. It hesitates for a moment, as if it would be surprised to see anyone remaining, and then jumps away without a word. You resume scanning the system, wary of other visitors. Nothing! Oh, what a disastrous run this has been. Oh dearie dear. Skip the store, head down to this one. Just actually noticed the fuel situation is getting quite desperate. You receive a message from a small convoy. They're looking for some military supplies and are offering to try and improve your reactor in exchange. I can agree to the exchange, which is 3 fuel, 2 missiles and 2 scrap from me, or respectfully declined, and it's going to have to be declined because I ain't looking that great up there. 8, that would take me down to 5 fuel and 3 missiles, and I'm sorry, but that ain't good enough. Let's go and hit the quest and see what's going on. You arrive at the last known location of the merchant's delivery and begin to scan for the lost ship. After a quick scan, you find a ship being chased by a pirate. This must be the missing delivery ship. You move in and attempt to rescue them. And what's that there? They've got a laser weapon, and what is that? Is that an ion weapon? If that's the case and they've just got 1 laser and 1 ion, I am perfectly safe behind my shield. In which case, I'm going to fire up the halberd beam just to see what it can do and see if it's as sexy as I think it's going to be. Yeah, there's no threat there. Oh, actually, that looked a little interesting. So I'll grab the halberd beam. So this one scans over multiple areas and does damage for each one it hits. Because it does 2 damage, that means it'll pierce 1 layer of shields. So it'll do 1 damage for every room it hits, and do some damage to the actual gear in the room as well. So if I can scan it across 3, that's 3 damage. Should be able to easily get across 4 actually if I drag it across the O2 room like that. Maybe even 5. Yeah, that's why I love those beam weapons. So that's a weapon there that can do 5 damage at a pop. It's not quite as focused as the burst laser or the Artemis, so it's not ideal if I'm in a situation where I absolutely must knock out the actual weapons. Or 42 scrap. Contact the delivery ship who are grateful for your assistance. They offer a reward for saving them, bit of fuel, a couple of missiles, and 42 scrap. That was excellent halberd beam shooting there. So 1 on the weapons. That means if I wanted to, I could have the halberd beam and the Artemis gun. Could be a good combination. I've got a distress signal. or just an unvisited location. I'm going to hit the distress signal. Even though there's a ship there and I was trying to avoid them, it does generally mean there's a good chance of getting a decent reward. It originates from a small NG ship under attack by rebel fighter. Is it NG or is it Engi? Who knows? When the rebels see Federation markings, they turn to attack. They've got beam weapon as well, but it's a low yield one. It will only go, well, it won't penetrate shields at all. And one laser. Looks like I'm fairly safe. Oh, they do have an enemy combat drone as well, but I'm still not overly concerned about that, so I'm going to fire the halberd beam up again. Yeah, relatively confident that they're not going to get through my shields. Piece of cake. I'll put this on auto fire and see if I can get a good angle for it. There we go, that'll do. It's going to hit 4 rooms, do 4 damage as a pop, and it's also going to damage their shields and weapons every time. Shouldn't have put their shields so close to their weapons room. And that's why the Federation will be victorious over the rebel scum. Good ship planning. To this moment in time, Gonzo would make a witty remark and I'd have a witty retort, and we'd keep the flow of conversation going a little bit better. Kaboom, 20 scrap, 2 missiles. The rebels destroyed. You pick the bones of their ship and wait for the small NG/Engi ship to catch up. Let's see if they're going to give me anything as well. NG vessel turns out to be poorly equipped, barely runabout really. They were trying to outrun the rebels and need all the help they can get. Oh, if I give them something, there's a chance I might get something back later. I don't know. Certainly not going to give them missiles and fuel. Should I give them 25 scrap? Should I give them nothing? Oh, well, I am a bastard, but on the other hand, they are enemies of the rebels, which is good, and I've had a fairly decent run through their system, so I'm going to give them 25 scrap. They're grateful. They don't have any supplies or weapons, but they do send over a self-teleporting medbot disperser that they hope they won't need. So that acts as a sort of bomb teleporter. It'll teleport a bomb to a location of your choice, whether that be on your ship or an enemy ship, and deliver a dose of healing to any crew members that are there. I think that's how it works. I'll just double check that before I give that advice and somebody decides to buy it. Yeah, self-teleporting healing unit that heals all friendly crew in the room. To be honest, I'll probably end up selling that at the next shop that I hit. I don't really have a great deal of use for it. Looks like I've got time to hit this one sector before I move on. Small merchant ship messages you. Underground Federation comms channels are all talking about your secret mission. Let us install a weapon to help. They give me 16 scrap and a laser charger. That's pretty good. That'll charge up. It means I can fire it when it hits 1 shot, or I can leave it all the way until it's charged up to 2 shots. Depending on how much that takes to charge, it might be worth using. Required power 2. Actually, I'll leave the Artemis on and I'll put that there at the front. What that means is I've got the burst laser 2, that fires 3 shots. I've got the charge, that fires 2. That effectively means that I can hit anyone I want with 5 shots a pop. That ought to cut through any shields. So if I'm going up against something with low shields, I can use the halberd beam. If I'm going up against something that I really need to damage very, very, very quickly, I can hit them with the Artemis. And then after doing that, or on just your generic fight, I can use the charge laser and burst laser in combo to really cut through enemy shields. Not a bad little setup. Bit of a fortunate run. And for my final sector of the day, you arrive at the long-range sensor beacon. Or the long-range beacon. When the FTL drive is charged, you can jump to the next sector. Haha! You recognise the ship as a well-known slave trader. He hails you and offers labourers for cheap. Well, I am 1 scrap short. However, I'm going to attack him and hope against hope that he just decides to give me a crew member as a peace offering. Not quite sure what that is. Some sort of chargeable weapon, which I don't like the look of. I am going to... Not enough power. Let's drop that by a bit. I'm going to use the booster actually. I'm not sure how to use it. There we go. Press that button. So I've got a little bit extra power there. I'm just going to stick that in the engines to give me a little bit of an extra boost as we go. So, charge laser and burst laser, both firing. That's a lot of lasers, that's pretty good. Keep them both charging up. Can't use auto fire because if I use auto fire, then the charge laser's gonna... Actually, no, that's a lie. I did use auto fire, shouldn't have used auto fire. Yes, as I suspected, using auto fire means the charge laser fires when it's only at 1 charge. I want to hold it until it hits 2 charge to get the maximum amount for my money. Oh, here we go. We surrender, take one of our slaves as tribute, but if you destroy us, they'll die anyway. And they're offering me a human crew member. I don't want a human crew member, I already have 3 human crew members. So I'm going to say no. Surrender is not an option. We surrender, take one of our slaves as tribute. If you destroy us, they'll die anyway. Well, as the bad guys, I officially don't care. I'd rather have some scrap. Charge laser ready to go. Wait for that burst laser. Hit them with everything we've got. That's pretty devastating barrage there. Looks a bit like Cthulhu there, doesn't it? Slave ship destroyed. They won't continue their evil trade. Ha ha ha. But many lives were probably lost on that ship. The plus side, a missile and some fuel and 48 scrap. So before I leave you today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put another bar, whatever you want to call it, in the weapons. So that means I've got 5 available to me in the weapons. That means I can actually charge the halberd beam and a burst laser if I want. That'll be a pretty mean combination. Use the burst laser to take things out, use the halberd beam to do the big damage. Oh, I'm feeling good things about this run. However, in order to see the end of this run, you will have to tune in next week. I say the end of this run, if it goes really well, it may not even be the end next week. But if you want to see the end of it, please tune in next week. Hopefully my compatriot, the esteemed Gonzo, will be joining me, and you won't just have to listen to me jabbering like a madman. In the meantime, if you'd like to check out some of our other videos, you'll see them popping up on the screen momentarily, along with that super sexy subscribe button. I mean, you can blame a lot of people for Gonzo not turning up this week. As I said, he's been busy at work. I've been busy at work. You could blame us for not being able to schedule these things properly, but I think the blame really comes down to the thousands and thousands of people who don't watch our YouTube videos. I mean, and you can help with that if you just tell a friend about us, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and before you know it, we've got hundreds of thousands of people all viewing our YouTube channel, which will never happen, but it is the dream. And maybe we can take a couple of days off work here and there with the minuscule amount of money we'll get from advertisement revenue, and get a little bit more content coming your way. That's the dream. I genuinely don't expect it to happen, but we do this because we love doing it, and we're glad that you watch our videos, even if there's only a few of you. So thank you very much for watching this one. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. We've got this, we've got Geordie Space Program every Sunday, we've got Binding of Isaac every now and again, and we'll dip in and out doing different things as it comes along. Looking at doing another Project Zomboid video too, so it really is all go on the GonzoEwok channel. Check back in next time, hope you come and see the end of the run of the Gonzo, and I will see you then.